speaking of, you're not going to come back as anything else, but you are. But granted, if you're a Jake, if you're an Israelite, and you give up the ghost, when you come back, you're going to be an Israelite again. But there is a possibility you could be another tribe, right? But you're not going to be an Israelite and come back as an Edomite, come back as a Moabite. It doesn't work like that, right? But continuing on, John chapter 9, verse 2. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Yahushua answered, neither had this man sinned, nor his parents, but that the work of the Most High shall be made manifest in him. Right. He was born blind just to show an example of the power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man. Right? He was born blind to be a witness of the miracle, man. To be an example of a miracle. Right? So sometimes we go through things, we go through hardships, we go through evil. It's not because it's a punishment, but it's because the Lord wants to show off his power. Let me jump to it real quick. Book of 2nd Esdras. Just backing up this point right here real quick. Book of 2nd Esdras chapter 7. Book of 2nd Esdras chapter 7 verse 56. For while we lived and committed iniquity, while we lived and committed sins, right? We considered not that we should begin to suffer for it after death, right? After death is when the judgment happens, man. Of course, you can be judged, for things that you do in this life, in the same life. But the life that you live now is usually, a cause of the life that you lived in the previous life, right? This way, when you see kids, born with stuff like leukemia, missing limbs, retardation, or even adults or people that get into horrific accidents at a young age, it's really, not only could it be judgment for, things they did in this life, but most of the time it's judgment for things that they did in the past life, man. Right? But there are some times where it isn't judgment either. It's because a miracle is going to happen. Right? Because these so-called doctors, they really don't know what they're talking about at the end of the day. They're really not, they're really trained just to push drugs, just to peddle pharmaceuticals. And not only push that, but push procedures and surgery and MRIs and scans and stuff like that. That really is in our culture. When a man was sick, he didn't back in the days when a man was sick, he didn't go to the physician and the physician said, "Hey, we gotta cut this out. We gotta basically chop off your leg." No. When you go to the book of James, it's locked in. Book of James chapter 5 and verse 13. Is any among you afflicted? Let him pray. Is any merry? Let him sing psalms. Right? If you're going through something, pray. If you're celebrating, if you're happy, if you're praising, if you're Really, if you're celebrating, hey, sing songs, be happy, be merry, man. Right? Hey, King David got a whole book called the Book of Psalms. But not only is he, you know, but he's basically, sometimes he's crying out, but a lot of times he's praising Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. James, James 5:14. Is any sick among you? Let him call for the elders of the church and let them pray over him, anointing him with oil in the name of the Lord, in the name of the Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, man. It didn't say amputate certain parts of the body. It didn't say draw blood and do this and that. Now, I'm not saying drawing blood is going off, but you know, sometimes I don't feel right when I have to do it, right? Giving my blood to the wicked at the end of the day. What are they doing with it, right? They tell you that they're running tests. I don't believe that's all they're doing, right? Verse 15, and the prayer of faith shall save the sick, and the prayer and faith, man, shall save the sick, and the Lord shall raise him up, and if he have committed sins, they shall be forgiven him, right? Hey, sickness, disease, you know, at the end of the day, could be resolved with prayer and faith, man. In my opinion, speaking as a man, I say the human body is one of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai's greatest creations. Even though it's in the flesh and it's corrupt, it's just magnificent, man. The things that it's able to do, you know, the Lord did his big one with this, man. Now, I also give credit to the Lord creating the sun, too. Because the sun is basically one light bulb that lights the entire planet, right? It doesn't light the entire planet. It does light the entire planet continuously 24/7 at the end of the day, you know, because once the sun sets, it's really rising somewhere else. It never needs to turn off. It never needs to reset. It never needs to rest. Not only is it lighting, but it's giving life too. These plants thrive off the sunlight. It's called photosynthesis. They basically eat the light from the sun. That's their food, or source of food. And what happens then? Then the animals eat plants. Man eats plants. So it gives life to men and beasts too. And then men eat the beast as well. But that's temporary. Because in the day of the Lord, once we have our new bodies, we're not going to be eating meat anymore, except for the Passover, right? Even animals, they're not going to be eating each other. And that's what the scripture says, man, in the book of Isaiah, right? But let me jump back to the book of 2nd Esdras, because again, we're coming into times that have never been seen before. That's how wicked and evil it's going to be, right? Everybody thinks that, you know, there's going to be world peace. You know, no, world peace will never happen until the return of the Lord, right? And before that, it's going to be great violence, right? This is one of the things I was meditating upon. Is this whole this whole Iran, Israel, and the U.S. conflict, right? But at the end of the day, you know, speaking as a man again, I seen this one guy, he just came across my feed one day. It was an old video. This dude that seems to be an Edomite. He looks like an Edomite, but could be anything, man. but he was standing in front of like a whiteboard, and he was basically saying how all the sheiks, right, all the Ishmaelites and the Elamites, all the Ishmaelites, all the sheiks, like the Saudi Arabia heads and the oil tycoons and stuff like that, basically were descended from Amalek, man. How they're really Amalek at the end of the day. So this whole Muslim, Jewish, so-called holy war, it's all it's what Amalek believes has to happen before the end times. So really, they're trying to fulfill prophecy themselves, right? Because they have their own beliefs, but they're trying to fulfill prophecy to upset the true prophecy, which is just fulfilling the true prophecy at the end of the day. Because the Lord is going to come before World War, or not slacking, during World War III. It's going to be a great war when the Lord returns. But I said that because right now you got something going on called the World Cup. Bread and circus at the end of the day. And in this World Cup, the World Cup games are right now being hosted in Babylon, in the United States. Or the majority of them are. So you mean to tell me, and one of the World Cup teams is Iran, and the US is playing as well. So you mean to tell me you're in the middle of war, and it doesn't make sense. If I'm a country and at war with another country, I'm not having a sport team that represents my country inside that other country, inside the enemy country. It doesn't make sense. But this how it goes to show you that all these niggas are on the same team, man. It's all a script, man. Right? It's all it's all propaganda to make you believe a certain way, make you believe life is a certain, things are going on. No, man. At the end of the day, all they want is total control, right? And they want continuous total control. Their inward thought is the house is going to continue forever. So what they're doing is trying to implement that control, which ultimately is going to lead to the MOTB, man, the mark of the beast, man, the Revelation 13 and 16, right? And this is where we're going to. This is where we're heading, man. All these evils are really going to happen at once, man. And this is what we're preparing for. This is what we're praying that the Lord protects us from at the end of the day. All right, but let me jump back. 2nd Ezra chapter 15. Starting at verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. One people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hand. And this is where we're coming to, man. This is where we're really at now, man. You got one people fighting against another, right? With weapons in their hand, right? Weapons of death, destruction, right? Because they believe that they're really chosen, right? These Amalekites, man, on both sides, man. Not only the Amalekites, the small hatters that wear the small hats, but also the small hatters that wear fucking turbans, man. All the same, man. If you're an Amalekite, you're an Amalekite. That's what you are at the end of the day. If you're an Edomite, you're an Edomite. That's what you are at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter about your appearance. It matters about the spirit. So if this man in front of that whiteboard was correct and saying that these Ishmaelites are really are Edomites at the end of the day, it makes sense, man. That makes sense why you would have Iran playing in the World Cup inside of the U.S. even though there's a war going on, even though bombs have went off and killed multiple people in the nation, man. If I was head of a nation and a foreign nation launched bombs or weaponry to kill not only just regular people but children of my people's children, it's gonna be smoke, man. It's not gonna be, oh yeah, let's play in the World Cup. Oh, let's make a deal. No, blood has to be shed, man. Blood has to be shed, and that's scripture. That's scripture, man. If you go to the book of Numbers, Numbers chapter 35 and verse 33. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land, and it cannot be cleansed by Salakia. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. Right? You're gonna basically, you shed blood in my nation, your blood gotta be shed too, man. All right? It isn't, oh, turn the other cheek, let's make a deal. No, blood gotta be shed. Not only the heads of that nation that called for the attack, but the people that initiated the attack as well, as far as the ones holding weapons, the ones pushing the buttons to launch the missiles. Their blood got to be shed, man. There's no amount of money that could pacify it, man. Right? And this is what pisses me off about our people, man. You got Judah and Babylon talking about, and Judah's you so-called African Americans. You got Judah and Babylon talking about they want reparations. For what? You want reparations for the atrocities committed against our people? For the innumerable lives shed, blood shed of our people? So you just want to check that, and that's going to make everything better? Fucking measly dollars is going to make everything better, man? No, man. The only reparations would be blood for blood, man. An eye for an eye. Right? That would be reparations, man. To cause what happened to us to happen to you. And that's what's going to happen. And that's prophecy. This is why the scriptures are known as the gospel, man. It's full of good news. Yeah, of course, it's full of misery and woe as well, but it's full of good news too. Numbers 35 and 34. Defile not therefore the land which ye have. Defile not therefore the land which ye have, wherein I dwell, for I, the Lord Yahweh, dwell among the children of Israel. The Lord dwells among the children of Israel. The Lord doesn't dwell among all people, man. So if the Lord dwells among the children of Israel, now you have to understand who are the children of Israel. Right? It's not these small headers that claim to be so-called Israelis, man. Because an Israeli is an inhabitant of the land Israel. An Israelite is a descendant of the man Israel. Right? And this is where the Lord resides, man. The Lord doesn't reside among all people. That's what it says in the book of Amos. Amos chapter 3 verse 1. Hear this word that the Lord Yahweh has spoken against you, O children of Israel. He didn't say this to everybody. Spoken against you, O children of Israel. Against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, right? Because who was delivered from the land of Egypt? It was the Israelites, man. And who's going to be delivered from the land of modern day Israel? Slakia, modern day Egypt. It's Israelites, man. The Lord isn't designed to save everybody. That's not his goal. That's not his plan. That's not what's going to happen. Only Israelites are going to be saved. And only 1/3 of Israelites are going to be saved. The elected 1/3, that's it, man. The Lord is not saving everybody, man. Amos 3 and 2. You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Out of all 18 nations, the Lord only recognizes one. The Lord only knows one. The Lord only resides with one. Right? Only one nation is the nation of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And those are the Israelites. right? You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities, right? Right now, we're going through the punishments of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. We're feeling the sword of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And part of the sword is Esau Edom. So the Lord set up Esau Edom to be in charge, to be in rulership now for a punishment for us. But that punishment is not going to last forever. We're actually at the end of that punishment. And we're seeing it play out, man. We're seeing these prophecies play out. Again, you got this whole skirmish with Iran, Israel, and the U.S. or Babylon. You had news a couple of days ago saying, oh, Iran is going to open the Strait of Hormuz. A deal has been not wavered. A deal has been made. You know, the U.S. is going to do this and that and the other. The U.S. is going to provide $300 billion to Iran for basically an infrastructure rebuild. And in return, the Strait of Hormuz is going to be opened again. But Israel was against it, because what Israel wants is really a fulfillment of the greater Israel plan, where they want to take over the entire Middle East, right? Because Esau Edom wouldn't be satisfied. It's never satisfied, man. You can't satisfy an Edomite, man. They're always going to constantly want more and more and more. It's like this one guy, Elon Musk, and now he's known as a fucking trillionaire. You know how much $1 trillion is, man? No family, no one person needs a fucking $1 trillion. If I had $1 trillion right now, I would give away basically so much. I would give away so much, not to boost myself or pat myself on the back, but just because after a certain amount of money, it really ruins the experience of life. Because anything you want is really, you could buy anything you want. So after you physically buy everything you want, now you want power. Then you can really buy anybody you want. Because everybody lusts after money, man. Money is the god of most of the people walking this earth, man. Alright? Because people put their trust and faith in money. Telling themselves that they could deliver you from anything. Well, money is a defense. That's what the scripture says. But you cannot love money more than Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Right? But $1 trillion is crazy. That's 1,000 billion. And even with $1 billion, that's a lot of fucking money. $1 billion is a lot of fucking money, man. They said if you spent $1 million every day from the time Yahweh Shai was walking the earth, you still wouldn't reach a trillion, man. There's no need for that, man. There's no need for that much exorbitant wealth. But he wants more. They want more. Even with the $1 trillion, it's not enough. They want more. And that's the spirit of an Edomite. But let me jump back to 2nd Esdras. Chapter 15. Second Esdras 15 and 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Right. This is the time that we're coming into, man. Nobody's gonna care about what their leader said, what the government said, right? They're gonna do what they not only want to do, they're gonna do what they believe they have to do in order to survive, right? In order to gain, right? Nobody's gonna care about their neighbors anymore. Nobody's gonna care about their fellow man, right? Really, we're kind of in that time now. All right, people talk about how they love one another, this, that, and the other. They're really hypocrites. I remember one time I was in a sauna at a gym, and sometimes when I go to a sauna, I got a spray bottle with me. It's a light spray, a small stream. Sometimes I put essential oils inside of that spray bottle along with water. So I'll put things like peppermint. Sometimes I have myrrh, frankincense, lemon oil, lemongrass, because there are benefits to those essential oils as well. It's not just to smell good. It's not just a perfume. Right? There are benefits to those. Right? And even sometimes I'll have the myrrh. I'll spray it in the sauna. If there's like 4 people in the sauna, hey, they start getting out. But even though the myrrh doesn't have a strong scent, it doesn't really. It's a very light scent. It's essential oil, right? It's not irritating or anything. Well, what it does is it irritates the demons in people, and they get the fuck out, right? But sometimes, there are people in the sauna, and you'll spray it, or I'll spray it, and they'll complain. They'll say, hey, read the sign. The sign says, don't pour water on the sauna, on the rocks. Which the sign does say that. But I'm not pouring water. It's a light spray. So, there was one day I was in there. This was a couple months ago. And I sprayed it. And there was 2 dudes to the right of me, and there was 2 dudes to the left of me. 2 dudes to the left of me didn't say anything. The 2 dudes on the right, oh, you can't do that. Oh, it's gonna break the equipment. This, that, and the other. The sign, this, the sign, that. And I just held my peace and put the shit away. But I was vexed because, all right, I see what you're doing, all right, really, at the end of the day, it's very moral, and it shows your integrity to abide by the rules and follow the rules. Even though I'm not technically breaking the rules, it's really I'm not gonna call it a loophole. I'm not pouring water. It's this light spray that really evaporates instantly as soon as it touches the rocks. It doesn't seep down into the electrical unit. But when people pour water straight from a bottle, that seeps down. Right? But so I respect it at the end of the day. I respect what they were attempting to do or trying to do or trying to say. But then I got vexed. I was like, okay, do you call out any other evil? Do you cry out against any other wickedness? You cry out against sodomites, right? Do you cry out against shit like even the government or even the shit going on with the Epstein files? So allegedly, that's a psyop too. You think they stopped, abusing and trafficking people and children? They'll never stop. You have a powerful clientele, not clientele. What's that word? Where I guess customer base. You have a powerful customer base like that. They're not gonna just stop their addiction. They're just gonna find another supplier, right? And nonetheless, do they cry out against what happened there, or are they still, eating their bread and circuses and putting their head in the sand, right? You cried against wickedness. You cried against not wickedness, but you cried against somebody that's spraying a light spray against somebody spraying grams of water. That's how light it is. Grams of water into rocks that evaporate instantly against $1 billion corporation, right? But when children are being hurt, wicked food is being poisoned, right? The law system is corrupt, right? But you say nothing. You continue watching their fucking sports. You continue fucking voting in their fucking political system, right? Now I'm not saying voting and watching sports are on the same level, because one of them is going off. You vote, you're going off, right? You're putting your faith and your trust, and you're giving a vow. This is the etymology of the word. You're vowing to really your enemies at the end of the day. But watching sports is just watching sports. But it's folly. I haven't sat down to watch a sports game in years, to be honest. Unless I'm somewhere and it's in the background, or somewhere and other people are watching it, then I pay attention to it. But I'm not gonna say never. I haven't, put my energy and attention into a sports game. I don't know 70% of players now. I don't know 90% of NFL players now. Even before the truth, I stopped watching the NFL because I would watch games and I would see how the so-called white quarterback that is perceived to be an Edomite, how much they were protected. You breathe on a white quarterback, flag, penalty, this, that, and the other. But so-called black quarterbacks, they get abused, right? They get hurt or they get hit hard, and it's like they don't have the same protection. They don't have the same complexion for the protection. But even in the world, I noticed that I stopped watching the NFL, right? But coming to the truth, it's all folly, man. Just like now, the World Cup, you got people celebrating, not even the World Cup, because the World Cup is one of them too. Because I remember it was last week, somebody asked me, a Levite, a so-called Haitian, they asked me if I'm watching the game. I was like, nah, I don't care about soccer, I don't care about that. Oh, you're not watching the game? You're not Haitian. You're not Haitian. I'm like, fuck out of here, man. That bullshit. Niggas just kicking a ball through a net. And that makes you a fucking nationality? Rooting for somebody else? The fuck out of here with that bullshit, man. You're not Haitian. So what makes a Haitian, man? So if you tell somebody else that, you're from the tribe of Levi, or you're a so-called Haitian, but you don't eat griot. And griot is fucking fried or sometimes baked pork. You don't eat griot because eating pork is going off. There are people walking this earth, I'll tell you right now, oh, you don't eat griot? You're not a real Haitian. Get the fuck out of here, man. So committing abomination makes you a Levite? Or makes you a Haitian? Committing an abomination makes you a nationality? Eating bread and circus makes you a nationality? It's stupid, man. It's folly at the end of the day. How long will you love simplicity, man? Our people are simple. So, but even before the World Cup, you had the fucking so-called NBA Finals, where allegedly the New York Knicks won, and the New York Knicks haven't won in over 50 years. And you have people rioting in the streets, destroying property, this, that, and the other, going on parades. All right, cool. Why don't you keep that same energy against the abominations of this place, man? Against wickedness. You got Transformers, teaching children. You got Transformers going into bathrooms with children, but you're not rioting against that. You're not protesting that. You had a point in time where, especially in New York, everybody in New York had to take a mandatory vaccination, that jab in the arm. And if you didn't take it, you were subject to lose your job. You were ostracized from your friends. You weren't allowed in certain spaces, right? How come you didn't write about that? Because now you're seeing the effects, or how you've been seeing the effects of the jab. But hey, as long as you got bread and circus, it's cool, right? Shit is annoying, man. Shit is annoying, man. Bro, let me jump over that real quick. Proverbs chapter 1. Proverbs chapter 1, starting at verse 20. Wisdom crieth without. She uttereth her voice in the streets. And that's where you get wisdom, man. Not in these church houses. It's by the men of the Lord on the highways and byways, man. Tell you to fear in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Because the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. Wisdom crieth without. She uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse, and the openings of the gates. She uttereth her words, saying, How long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Right? How long are you gonna love this simplicity? How long are you gonna be content with bread and circus, man? Really, you should have. I think it's gonna sound weird, but Jake should have the same mindset and mentality of Esau Edom, as far as wanting to rule, wanting to dominate, but not rule in wickedness, but turning into Yahweh Bashem Yahushai for rulership, man, for power, right? Because all things come from the Lord. So if you obtain power, it's the Lord that gave you that power. Right? No man gets anything by themselves of their own strength. Let me go back to second entrance. Let me finish that off. But our people are content with folly. Our people are content with captivity. Our people have made a covenant with death. Right? Even in the world, I said to myself, or I felt that, going to funerals in the world, I felt that death wasn't normal. It didn't feel natural, right? There was a reason why it was happening, and the reason is because we disobeyed Yahweh Bashem Yahushai at the end of the day. But it takes me back to that song by a group from the 90s named Bone Thugs and Harmony called Crossroads. There's a song about death, a song about giving up the ghost. And part of that song goes, can anybody tell me why we die? And the answer is simple. It's in the scriptures. We die because not only are we in the flesh, and the flesh has an expiration date, but we die because we went off, man. The Lord didn't create us to die, man. He wants us to live forever. We're going to live forever. Technically, in a way, we kind of do live forever. Because when our spirit lives forever. We give up the ghost, our spirit just goes into another body after a certain period of time. But we no longer have, when that happens, we no longer have remembrance of our past lives or former lives. When the Lord returns and we get our new bodies, we're truly going to live forever then. Right? We'll taste death again. We're never going to taste sickness again, man. We're going to have new bodies, man. We're going to do away with this flesh, man. 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 17. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. You see it now, man. Or you see it starting now. Right? All it's going to take is one false flag. You shut airlines down. You already see airlines shutting down as companies. And when an airline shut down, it's like it's like it's like Uber shutting down. If Uber shut down, now you gotta depend on Lyft. So Lyft is gonna be bombarded. The price of Lyft is gonna go up. It won't be as easy to get a ride or Uber or Lyft, right? So when one airline shuts down, one line of transit shuts down, the other ones pick up a slack. The other ones pick up a slack. They charge more. There aren't enough flights. You know, they get crowded, and that's how it starts. It's a domino effect. We're coming into the time. Verse 18. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Right? And that's and I'm not gonna lie, this verse should terrify women, right? Because if men are afraid, what are the women gonna be, man? The women are gonna be fooled, man. The women are gonna be victims, right? Because men are gonna be afraid. So the men walk the earth with any wickedness, or the men in Jacob's trouble that are designed for wickedness, designed for evil, right? The only protection from them, not only is Yahweh Shem Yahshai, but it's going to be men. But if men are afraid, protection is gone. Women and children are finished. Verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods, because of the lack of bread, and for great tribulation. Right? The man's not going to say, oh, I knew this person, or, you know, this is my kin, this is my kindred, this is my fellow kinsman, this is my fellow tribesman, you know, oh, this is an elder, this is a child. A man's going to have no pity, man. And they're going to spoil their houses with the sword. Why? Because of need. Right now, there seems to be some sort of peace on this place because you got all these supermarkets everywhere, all this food everywhere, Uber Eats, this, that, and the other, restaurants everywhere, right? Even when people are in need, people don't have enough funds to buy food from the supermarket or grocery store. What do? They steal it. A lot of people, go to the grocery store and steal, right? Because they don't got it. Or some people just steal it because they like stealing. But nonetheless, what's gonna happen when there's no more grocery stores? Right? Grocery stores are looted. Restaurants are closed down. The same people are gonna, run into their neighbors' houses, run into the nearest house, really, with the sword, with weapons, and say, hey, give it up. Give it up. I got children to feed. I got mouths to feed. I got to feed myself. And you got it. Give it up. All that wacky-tacky Christian talk, or love thy neighbor, all that's going to go out the window, man. There's going to be dog-eat-dog in this place. And this is the evil that's coming to America, man. Evil that's coming to the world. But again, just like we read in Ecclesiastes 33, no evil shall happen to them that fear the Lord. Let me get one more, I'm going to close out, Lord willing. And this is the remedy, or this is the flip side of this, man. 2 Ezra 2:26. As for the servants whom I have given thee, there shall not one of them perish, for I inspire them from among thy number. Be not weary, for when the day of trouble and heaviness cometh, because that day is coming. It didn't say if that day of trouble and heaviness, it says when. Be not weary, for when the day of troubleness, the day of trouble and heaviness cometh, others shall weep and be sorrowful, but thou shalt be merry and have abundance. Others are going to be weep and be sorrowful, but you are going to be merry and have plenty. The heathen shall envy thee, but they shall be able to do nothing against thee, saith the Lord. And this is thus saith the Lord, man. This isn't my words. This isn't my opinion. This is thus saith Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. So again, consider it like it already happened. Consider Jacob's trouble like it already, not already happened, but it's going to happen, like tomorrow. That's how powerful the word of the Lord is. It stands the test of time. Whether it be past, present, or future, it stands the test of time. For eternity, man. We're dealing with a power that is truly sovereign. We as a nation, as a people, have to have that same mindset. We have to be a sovereign nation. But our people are so dependent on these other nations because of the curses, right? We should go to our enemies for of all things, right? Because we went off. But that's going to be reversed, right? But I'm going to wrap it up with that. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to the flock of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Again, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Ruach. Double honor to the elders and the Apostle Graham Nelson that rule well. And I want to say peace and salutations to the elect of the nation of Israel. Until next time, I want to say Shalom and Abad Wal. Guam Yasharallah.